Добре.
All right, so recording has started. Now let's have a little bit of 20-slide fun and talk about this little experiment that I've run. And basically, I tried to play with evolutionary algorithms with the purpose to create an idea generation or concept generation system with the use of large language models. There's been a bunch of approaches like that already had been published, but this one is by no means a very serious one. The basic idea, the basic concept around that is that, okay, humans generate new ideas by usually combining concepts from different fields of study in their mind and spitting out something new and interesting. So the idea was like, okay, maybe LLMs can do something similar. Maybe, let's try. So what I've done is I basically made the LLMs combine randomly a bunch of concepts that are already known, generate new ones, and then recombine them again. And see what comes out at the end, whether it's going to be something useful or not useful, fun or not fun. So to dive into some of the details of how this was done, the basic flow looks like this. So I've generated a little bit over 100 basic concepts from different fields of study, from physics, mathematics, literature, anthropology, chemistry. So it's not just hard sciences, but also social sciences, literature, etc. And when I was generating those concepts, I was specifically looking to make sure that it's not just generic thing, like say, for physics, the concept of quantum mechanics. No, I wanted to be something specific like quantum entanglement or something else that describes a particular function, let's say. So yeah, I tweaked the prompt that was generating this concept to the best of my ability. Yeah, we'll see what actually comes out or not. So then what happens is I randomly select two of the ideas from this data set. In the future, you will see that actually at this same stage, there's a filtration of the selected ideas based on the evaluation score, but those are for the ideas that are generated at a later stages, not for the base concepts. So we take two random ideas. We use those two random ideas to generate three new ideas with the use of LLMs. Sorry, guys, can you mute? Thank you. And so, yeah, we generate three new ideas based on those two, whatever they are. There's a specific prompt saying like, hey, you need to combine these concepts, blah, blah, blah. Nothing extraordinary. And then, of course, we take and evaluate those ideas. So I chose to evaluate the ideas based on this criteria, basically common sense, feasibility, testability, originality, explainability, and impact. And we will see how those metrics and evaluation criteria play with each other. But basic idea was, okay, let's take this criteria, let's evaluate on 0 to 10 scale or 1 to 10 scale. And I actually don't remember, was it 0 to 10 or 1 to 10? Doesn't matter. Yeah, get an average and get a total evaluation score for this particular idea. That's the simplest way to get some mark, some score about the idea. So yeah, then we take these three ideas, no matter what score they got actually, and just save them to the original data set of ideas, constantly increasing them. And repeat. Basically, we run back to the step 2, where we select two random ideas with the filtration of a score higher than 7.5, and we continue with this loop until forever happens, until the cows come home, as people say. So that's basically how it looks like. We have base concept, we select, we generate new ones, we evaluate the new ones, we update the base concepts with the new ones, and we select again, making sure that there's a evaluation score taken into account on the selection stage. All of that, and every step is done with the use of GPT. So I'm not doing selection myself. It's all GPT making the judgment and doing the selection as well as generation. So it's all of the stuff happens over there. And for the purpose of, just before I switch there, yeah, for the purpose of simplicity and save a little money, I used 3.5 turbo, of course, and not 4 because of just the volume. But I'll talk about that in a bit as well. So a couple of examples of the base concepts, just to give you an idea. So things like, say, mindfulness from the Buddhism or phase transitions from thermodynamics. So it generated me like the name of the concept and the description of the concept, which, you know, they're quite basic, they make sense, and they, well, give anyone an understanding of what it is on the very high level. There's a couple more: quantum uncertainty principle and Nash equilibrium from the game theory. And in total, there was like 115 of those different concepts in this data set originally. But when we actually were finished with that, well, let's go step by step. Started with using GPT 3.5 Turbo for both generation and evaluation. I run it for 10 generations. Next generation is considered whenever the previous one is used as at least one of the parents. So if I have a new concept that, I don't know, uses a parent from generation 7 and generation 0, which is the base concepts, then we get generation 8. We generated almost 2,000 new concepts and ideas. Obviously, I wasn't able to go through all of them manually, but I'll show you some of the winners or some of the interesting concepts from this whole list later in this presentation. Yeah, spent about $20 just for those who are interested on this effort. Probably a little less, something like 18 maybe. If that was GPT-4, we would be looking into a few $100 here, I think. But honestly, I mean, one of the conclusions is that it would make sense, and maybe you know, next time I will try that as well. But beyond the fact that it just costs money, it also is, as you know, very, very slow, and I would have to be waiting for weeks to, maybe not weeks, but I don't know, several days for sure to generate those concepts. And then when I got the results, I used also code interpreter to analyze them and to draw some charts and get some statistics from that, which we will talk about in just a sec. So results. First, we're going to look at just the mathematical statistical results, and then we're going to look at some actual results in terms of the concepts that has been generated. So this is the average evaluation score across generations. Someone else is joining, adding. So this is the average evaluation score across generations. As you can see, it's almost always relatively high. You can say that there could be a tendency towards growing overall, but I don't think we have enough data. And also, if you look at that, you see that I'm only using generation 1 to 8 because generation 9 and 10, they had very few data points to operate with, and it wasn't really an honest comparison to the rest of the generations. But they also did show a certain slight growth upward, but I'm not making that conclusion. I'm just saying, like, okay, you know, they're on average, let's say 7.5 or something, and yeah, could potentially be growing in the future, but at this point, I don't think there's any particular trend in terms of the quality of the ideas. Okay. That's basically distribution of the again of the evaluation score for generations 1 to 8. I mean, typical normal distribution peaks around 8, which is kind of high, but again, this is GPT evaluating GPT, so really it's not probably not telling us too much about the actual quality of the ideas. This is a little bit in detail version of this distributions, just so you can see generation to generation, they're fluctuating quite a bit, even though in terms of distribution, even though they're quite high numbers. Like I think generation 1 has something like 400 plus samples, and these guys had, I don't know, maybe 350, 300, etc. So they were dropping little by little until the fewest in the latest generations. And this is some statistics. I don't know if you can see it well or not, in terms of performance of a different evaluation criteria by generation. And interestingly enough, common sense and originality, no, it's not originality. What is that? Oh, and impact are growing at the later stages. But again, it seems to me that it's more of the function of fewer samples and just some things averaging out, not where they should be. Right, so now let's have some interesting fun. I basically selected some of the best ideas that we had in terms of the general evaluation score, and then we're going to look at some of the original sort of ideas that GPT considered are fun and interesting, or rather original, but not necessarily best in other criteria. Just in general, about the best ideas. Most of them have at least one of the following properties that I'm going to talk through. Well, let's start. They either already exist and not really original, but they're very practical and reasonable. It basically just lists them as new, even though this idea kind of exists. And sort of subcategory of this same thing is when the idea exists, but it's so obvious and straightforward. Well, not obvious. It's very practical and clear to people who are using that people don't even give it a name, but it just rediscovers it, it gives it a name and says, oh, okay, there's a new concept. Like, okay, whatever. There's a bunch of ideas that are social improvement ideas that sound great and also make sense, but they're like close to impossible or very hard to implement at the total scale. So everybody would say, yes, this is a great idea, let's go with that, but the actual usefulness from having this idea is probably quite small. And some ideas are kind of crazy in a good way, in a fun way, and maybe in some useful way. So they do help in some brainstorming capacity around that. So let's look at the top 10 of the best scored ideas according to general evaluation score. So it's like a summary, like a total summary of all of the 2000 ideas. So the first one by the score is gender inclusive social institutions. That's the kind of this socially positive idea that is being implemented, and it's very hard to implement it at scale, but it sounds great. It would be great to have it. Practicality, I mean, it's high, but it's difficult to implement. The next one I was kind of surprised to see over here, but yeah, I'll let you read through that. I don't want to just read the text, so I'll give you a second to look through that, and I will highlight whatever I think is interesting here. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the AI-powered tarot deck. that was one of the interesting ones. Basically, the idea is to apply artificial intelligence, I understand, to predict particular cards in the tarot deck to give better results to someone who is doing this, whatever they're doing. But it's kind of fun. Another interesting one, but in a different way, is this game theory in public health interventions. And it actually makes sense. And I think this is the kind of idea that, people working in public health are definitely using one version of this approach or another. But this is just so obvious that there's no need to, highlight it as a separate concept per se. Okay, I'll hang here for another 30 seconds for you to take a look. Yeah, like this one, the evolutionary inference. I mean, this is like super basic. It's not original. It's just what people do. I mean, looking at the evolutionary tree to predict, okay, what's potentially gonna come next. I mean, biologists probably do, not everyday live people, but still. All right, I'm gonna go to the next one. We have 4 more to take a look at. The chemical stratigraphy is kind of fun. So I'm going to read them. So chemical stratigraphy is an interdisciplinary approach that combines principles from geology, chemistry, and archaeology to study chemical composition of sedimentary layers. Like nobody is doing that. So it kind of like, it sounds fancy, sounds like an interesting idea, but obviously geologists are analyzing chemical composition of the sedimentary layers and making some conclusions of that. That's actually, that's one of the main characteristics of this whole exercise and the kind of ideas it generates. So it hallucinates something that sounds fancy and sounds interesting, but in practical sense, well, the next one is also similar stuff. It reinvented electromagnetic induction wireless charging. Cool. I have one standing right next to me, so it's good to see it over here in the list. It means that it probably works. And then we have a couple of, again, social ideas, which we've got a lot in the top 20, top 30, with gender neutral social forms and gender responsive education. But those are, again, A, being implemented, and B, difficult to, practically implement everywhere, which is fine, but just saying. I don't know if that's like a separately identifiable concept, put it this way. Right. So on the original side, that's a little bit more interesting, I think, or at least fun for me. Those I sorted just by the average evaluation, and these guys I sorted by the most original ones. Yeah, a few slides. Well, psychological antibodies. That actually sounds like a very decent idea. Basically what they're saying is like, let's use the same approach that we use to fight viruses, but use it in psychology. I don't know if that was ever used or created in this way, but just to think about combining those two concepts makes sense in my mind. I mean, it just kind of, okay, that's reasonable. That's something that can be probably done. And the next one, I'm trying to remember why I put it here. Well, it's a basically, yeah, competitive analysis. I don't remember why I put it here. I think I thought something more of this idea than it really is, but that's okay. Okay, so this one I really liked, the data rituals for ecological stewardship. So it suggests that people are developing data rituals, whatever they are, collecting data, analyzing and sharing data, and specifically ecological data. But the part I liked about it is the ritual of the data ritual related to collection or whatever it is. And somehow it combined it with ecological terms, which is kind of just weird. I don't know. Then we have this epistemic phase transitions. Basically, it just took the concept of phase transitions from physics and applied it to, what was that? Oh, yeah, and applied it to the transition of belief systems of people. That one I found genuinely interesting because, there's a lot of research and a lot of practical work that has been done on changing people's beliefs and monitoring people's beliefs, etc. And there is a moment in these belief systems when a particular tectonic shift happens, phase transition happens in the belief system of a person. And analyzing it from that perspective can be quite useful, but I don't know actually if that is being analyzed this way or not, but I would think it's kind of interesting. Yeah, that was funny. The evolutionary code compiler, basically it suggested me to do what I'm doing with that now. So evolutionary approach, but just apply it to code. And evolutionary change different chunks of code depending of the objective and what we do. Yeah, in some contexts it actually makes sense, but it's difficult to implement. And another interesting one, again, was from the original thing, is economy or market related, is polarized market. exploring characteristic of the market depending on the extreme opinions or positions. So basically look at the extreme opinions about the companies or the areas of the market to make a judgment where this market stands and make some conclusions from that. Interesting, fascinating, don't know how practical, and all of those ideas that end up being really interesting and fascinating from this list, they really require some practical choices to be done or practical validations to be done afterwards in order to at least make sure that it somehow functions. So what have I learned from this fun? Well, first of all, it was fun. It was just interesting to work on. Not too much effort, but still, I think that generally the approach works. And I'm not talking about evolutionary approach necessarily, but I'm talking about looking at things through the perspective of different interdisciplinary ideas. And one of the, in this particular experiment, one of the clear drawbacks was the fact that I wasn't applying this to a particular problem. Before I go to LLMs, I think that's important. So the next step I want to try is to try to basically do the same, but change prompts to direct LLM to the solution of a particular problem or problems. And then basically say, okay, now you think through the perspective or through the lens of this model or that model or mental model, whatever we call it, and find innovative solutions to a particular problem and see what comes out at the end, because I think this vector of problem was lacking for LLM to make a little bit better judgments about the about generated ideas and evaluation of those ideas. Like when I do this for the problem, I can then evaluate the idea based on how really it makes sense for the problem itself. What else? Obviously, yeah, more powerful LLMs giving better results. And I think the combined approach where 3.5 is generating the ideas and GPT-4 is evaluating the ideas could be preferred over here. Or I put it differently. Obviously, it would be great if GPT-4 would do everything, but as I said, it's just takes a lot of time and funds right now. But as a middle ground, it could be interesting to combine them, one of them generating and another of them evaluating. And I think the combination with GPT-4 evaluating makes more sense at this point. Yeah, as I mentioned, so application to the problem will definitely create better results. So that's the next stuff I want to try with this. Yeah, surprising. I expected that it's going to go down in quality, in evaluated quality with generations. It didn't, surprisingly. I don't know if it will continue. I will try to test, but at least from self-evaluation standpoint, the ideas didn't get worse as the generations got further and further from the basic concepts and basic ideas. Yeah, and it would be amazing to have a human loop over here. Like when we're generating ideas to resolve a particular problem, to gather human feedback and maybe potentially even in the future, based on this feedback, fine-tune those models for better results in a particular field. Actually, if we just extrapolate this approach further and say that, okay, now we're going to apply this to a particular problem and, we're going to use evolutionary algorithm, I expect that it will work and look somewhat similar to the tree of thoughts or graph of thoughts approaches that had been published recently and showed some pretty good results. But yeah, it's yet to be seen, yet to be validated. So yeah, that's that. Thank you. That's my little experiment and the results of it. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Yeah, I think I have. Thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing this. It's really fun. It's really nice.
It was fun. I'm telling you.
It was fun. Yeah, definitely. Got a couple of questions. Like the first one, why did you choose those metrics, like 5, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
to evaluate the ideas? Why those? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, common sense, feasibility, testability, originality, explainability, and impact. And
I don't
what
know.
exactly?
I just thought of, yeah, go ahead.
And like what exactly? Like you have chosen that, but
Yeah.
from the point of GPT 3.5, that could be like a totally different understanding from yours, basically. Can be. So
Yes. Yeah, I
mhm.
understand the question. Thank you. So why I chose them? Because I thought of this, that this criteria would make sense. That's this best answer I have. Like, okay, it's the best criteria, the best top, whatever, 6 criteria or 5 criteria that I came up with, that for me would indicate a good mental model or a good concept. For me personally, that's what I could think of. Maybe it's not, best set. And there's definitely, by the way, some correlation between a couple of them. I think between common sense and feasibility, meaning they're redundant. So from LLM perspective, it thinks of those as basically close to the same thing. And in terms of the second question, GPT 3.5, understanding them in their own way, I included explanations of what I mean by them in every prompt. So when I said testability, I put specifically what I mean by testability and explainability and impact, etc. So I'm hoping that was helping GPT 3.5 be on the same page.
Thanks.
Yep.
One little question, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
regarding the initial concepts, initial ideas you've included into the experiment. How what was the principle of choosing them?
I chose something like 10 or more to 12, I don't remember, fields of study. Like I listed here, like whatever. Oh, no, it actually was more fun. I just asked ChatGPT, give me the top fields of study in human sciences, like in all history or whatever it was. And it gave me like a huge list prioritized by the importance and the impact. I then removed from those some that I didn't think were relevant and left basically like 10 or 12 most important concepts fields of study from sciences. And then I took those fields of study and then asked GPT to give me 10 or something concepts per field. And again, of a particular kind. I didn't want it to give me a general concepts, as I underlined in the beginning, that would be useless. I wanted it to give me concepts that kind of make sense when you combine them with others. I tend to think of them as concepts that describe some kind of function or some kind of unique construct in this field. Yeah, like, I don't know, second law of thermodynamics. And it's very specific, very specific, at least it has a certain approach behind, so that then when you can combine it with something else, it would know that, okay, I can apply this formula per se, or mental formula, whatever, to this new concept and see how it comes out.
Yeah, can I?
Thanks.
Yep. Fire away.
Yeah, so my question about the scoring, what the algorithm of the scoring, how the LLM decided this or that idea has a 7.5 score on this or that parameter. Well, I'm asking it because it's a pretty subjective characteristic, how many scores, how many points take about that idea.
Yeah.
But have you tried to configure the scoring? Have you tried to explain how LLM should score this or that parameter?
No, basically what I did is very simple. On the evaluation step, I gave LLM an idea that was generated. I explained to that what I'm doing. I said, like, look, I'm doing the evolutionary algorithms to generate new ideas based on the existing concept of blah, blah, blah. Here's the idea that was generated. you need to evaluate it on the 0 to 10 scale according to this criteria. And I describe every criteria in some detail in the prompt. And then it just spits out whatever it thinks should be the scores for that. So I left the thinking about the scoring to the GPT, itself.
So
there was no config or anything.
But did you give it like an explanation what is 1 and what is 10?
Yes.
Like
no, I didn't give
1
explanation what is 1 and what is 10, but I did give explanation what are the different criteria. Oh, actually,
okay.
wait.
That's a problem. If you don't know the scale that 1 is
Yeah.
bad and 10 is good, then it's not just some random number. And
No, of course I told it that 1 is bad and 10 is good, but I didn't tell it that 2 is a little bit better than bad. Right? That's what I mean.
Okay.
That would be very hard.
That may be a problem, I guess. Probably.
No, I see where you're going, but I mean, it clearly explained that, hey, 1 is bad, 10 is good. There's no question, but not every step of the way. Like I didn't say, okay, 5 is okay, and you should put these ideas at 5. It would be probably great if I could give it even examples, but in this case, examples would just do the standard approach in this, but examples would take so much tokens, so many tokens, that it wouldn't be practical, I think. Maybe it would, I don't know, but it's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
To sum up the main idea of your experiment, it's just a generative advertisement network, but for ideas, because we have a discriminator and a generator, and the concurrency between them. So
yeah, basically.
Base it on a GAN. Am I pronouncing it correctly? GAN.
I don't know, by the way, how is GAN or GAN?
Okay,
GAN
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So based on this type of the network, we should split the generator and we should split the learning process of the generator and discriminator, because if the generator and discriminator learn on the same data, or learn on it's the same LLM in your experiment. So they always be as perfect as possible. So that's not surprise that your scoring is not loose during the time, because LLM have tried to do his best, and it's always will be 7.5 approximately. So
well, I don't know where you get the conclusion that it's always going to be 7.5, but I agree with your statement.
Normal distribution in a do the best when LLM have tried to do his best. Yeah, it's a normal distribution. It's my assumption, but I'd like to suggest to use two different LLMs, one to score and second one to generate the ideas.
That's exactly what I outlined over here. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. So the result will be much better, and the result will be more interesting, more fun. Yeah.
I don't know, actually. You know why? I was thinking about that, and I was trying that on a couple of samples. But look, LLM is like, I mean, it's a black box. It's a closed brain. It sits somewhere, right? And obviously, it doesn't know that I asked this question to that before. It just knows the results and evaluates the results. Totally understandable. But now what you're going to do is you're going to use, more. Let's say if we use 3.5 for generating and 4 for evaluating, like two different LLMs, but the main difference between them is that one is a lot bigger and more powerful than the other. I think we will still get as consistent results as we get now. It's going to be different numbers, different distributions. Obviously, it's probably going to evaluate it a little worse than 3.5 is evaluating that. But the point is still the same. As long as the system, the black box, doesn't learn anything about those things, actually learn, there's like factually, I don't see what's the difference. It's just like in 3.5 and 3.5 case, it's identical systems not learning anything and evaluating its own stuff, and then it's going to be different systems not learning anything and evaluating each other's stuff. See what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but while they're not
I
learning,
thought that it's like the point of this fun to like understand what is like what will be the output
yeah,
in the end, because like you don't know before you like do it, right?
yeah,
So you can't say that it won't do anything interesting. So that's like the point of doing this. So maybe there will be some interesting result. Maybe not, but who knows?
maybe.
You know?
No, look, I'm not arguing. I'm just discussing in principle. In principle, until those systems don't start actually learning, until we don't start, say, fine-tuning them based on some of these results, it's going to be two black boxes that are just looking at some data, and they're going to be giving us different but self-consistent results, if that makes sense. So yeah, it would be probably more, I don't know, more interesting or less interesting, but it would be something different.
Well, I'm talking about more than not about the GPT-4 and GPT-3.5. It's more about GPT-3.5 and Llama, for example.
Okay.
If we choose two different systems, we will get two different. The GPT-4 and 5, if GPT will generate data, we will try to adopt to the scores from Llama and vice versa if you choose other order. So in that case, GPT don't know about the Llama thinking process. if you agree that Llama had a thinking process.
You're right. You know, I tell you what's the, I think where the disconnect is, or what I'm trying to explain. In this model that you gave in the GANs, they learn from each other. So if I could make it happen that GPT 3.5 generates the idea, then Llama evaluates the idea, and then this information about evaluation returns to GPT 3.5 as a fine-tuning, which is a possible exercise now, as it allows to fine-tune it. Then it's going to be a fair gun. Until then, it's not a fair gun. It's just a play with two black boxes. So the fact that Llama is estimating or evaluating has no impact on 3.5. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I have one more idea. Perhaps it will help to grow with this next conversation. What if you will choose people to score the ideas?
That would be great.
I know that one people, if you score by yourself the all ideas, it will not so good for the result. Yeah. Perhaps you can choose our chat, for example, ask people to score separate idea by separate direction. To ask to set the score for by five different ideas for 5 different directions from 5 different people. You will receive a lot of scoring, and the GPT will use these scores to the next generation. Yeah, of course, it's take much more time than a fully automatic process, but it could be much more funny.
Yeah, it could be much more fun for sure. I think it's a next step. I mean, the more I think about it now is the more taking, like, whether it's people are better for sure, or it's a different LLM, but then taking these results and using them in fine-tuning data set. That could be something interesting.
People still better than LLM, I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
At least for a couple of years.
Scores. I mean, who scores?
Yeah.
Exactly, by the way.
Yeah, great point.
I think just about one thing. Eugene, you've shared the first, I believe, page of the results, which are related to that. The ideas are basically the outputs.
The outputs. Okay, give me a sec. Here or
next
here?
one, the next, yeah, this one.
Uh-huh.
So basically, pretty high scores for the output, for the originality, right, of the idea overall, but not really original.
Yeah. So these ones, by the way, just before you continue, so this list is the total evaluation score. So it takes into account all average of those all of these criteria. And the
okay, but
original
originality
ones
is
are
high as
over
well.
here.
It's high as well, right?
Yes, originality is high as well. But if you want to look at like top originality, these are the top originality. See, this is the originality score, 10, 10. So it's like it considers that this is like super original.
Super original.
But
okay.
yeah, you're right. These ones have high originality score, but at the same time, they don't seem too original.
It should be like the score is more than more than 5 points, right? It should be higher than like a middle, something in the middle, but it's not. So the question, have you tried to limit or give more details to the prompt to focus the answer to more originality, from this point of view?
No, I haven't.
Do you think
I should.
Makes sense?
Well, think about it. Like if we are solving some particular problem, I want the idea to not just be, well, maybe you're right. If we're talking about just the idea, then maybe originality should be the biggest contributor. Maybe have the biggest weight or something. But I thought that at least it needs to be a common sense kind of. Oh, by the way, I didn't have common sense first in the criteria. And without the common sense criteria, it was generating so much trash. It was quite fun, but absolutely impractical, and just didn't have anything to do with reality. So yeah, I mean, you raised a good point. There should be some kind of good balance of criterias with different weights to better evaluate this thing. But I think guys also are right in terms of, well, look, if GPT is evaluating itself, then it's always going to be giving consistent scores, and people are much better in this regard. Otherwise, it's sort of
So it's kind of interesting because, from what you shared, well, the first thing, first thought I have, this can be a good tool for brainstorming, actually.
Yeah.
But if you brainstorm, you need that uniqueness. You need that non-standard approach for that.
Anyway. Yeah. I was dreaming about or thinking about that the other days. Like it would be, imagine that this kind of system is an overlay on top of ChatGPT or something, that we combines all these different perspectives and lenses to give you unique perspectives to solve your particular problem, like a brainstorming session, basically. That's one of the methods of brainstorming. But you can configure, like in the West world, you have your tablet, and the tablet you just pull up and down different criteria. Like I want more originality and I want less testability or whatever. And it gives you ideas that meet this criteria. That would be kind of cool.
Thanks. That's interesting.
One more thing that there are two comments about the common sense scoring. Have you tried to not lose the lowest common sense ideas in several generation, because on the first generation it was looks like a trash, but in several cycles it will make more sense.
Yeah, you're totally right, because so I haven't tried, and I'll explain you why. Because on the second step, on the selection stage, I needed to have some criteria for selection. So I decided to go for simplicity and said, okay, as long as your overall score is over 7.5, you can proceed. If not, then you're disqualified. Maybe definitely there is a potential to play with this and say, I don't know, if your overall score is over 6, but your common sense score is over 8, then you can also proceed, or build some other borderline sort of edge case filters that would let different things through. But yeah, I haven't played with that. It was just a very simple filtration step.
And another question: have you tried to split the score, split the number of scores between the criteria? I mean that, like in Diablo, when you have 10 points and you should split it between the several characteristics.
Like weighted? Like weight the scores? Assign a weight to it.
It's not like a weight. It's just there are different algorithms how Eugen can split this score. I mean that, for example, the sum of all scores should be 20. For example, if
I see what you mean.
if LLM would know that idea can be in the middle of the all scores, or the idea can be on the highest charisma and lowest.
That is kind of fun. That's a very cool idea, but the problem is I don't think that you can get an answer from LLM to this question. It's not very good with numbers from that standpoint.
You can explain it as a behave like a Diablo character creation or something
then
like
it would
that.
be even more fun.
Yeah. There are also, to be serious, also there are some various algorithms how you can split the points between the characteristic. It's not just a sum. It can be various algorithms. You just Google it, because I'm afraid that I missed something. And another one thing that another one option to mix two different ideas. It's take the idea from a first idea and apply it on a different market, on different approach. Take the approach from first idea and apply on a second idea.
But like that's what I pretty much tried to do. Or what do you mean?
I mean that it shouldn't be a mix of two ideas. It should be like Uber for something, Uber for skaters. Perhaps the mix of in this approach, the mix of two ideas make more sense, make more positive results. It's just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So what I really want to try here, it's literally tomorrow. I want to, if I find some time, but is to apply it to a particular problem. The question is what problem to find and how to define it properly. But that's a little bit of a different. And then you apply. That's my decision-making framework. Basically, I have a list of mental models that I apply to different problems and look through the lens of this, idea into the problem. And maybe we can just imagine the same thing and do this with idea to idea mapping. Why not? We can try.
How physics decide that the problem is solved, but apply this in startups.
Yeah. So no, definitely there's the question of, or the problem of applying things to particular issues, applying mental models to particular issues is, well, clearly working, and it's clearly a next step.
Well, yeah, LLM has a huge head. Let's pain in a head in LLM, not our heads.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that idea Alexei just told about the keeping less scored items in the pool.
Yeah.
And I just thought it can be emulated with some kind of dominant and recessive genes, like we do that, like the nature does that in our bodies, like to
Well, that's
emulate
gonna
that.
be a hardcore evolutionary algorithms, yeah. True ones.
But I think that I hope so. That will give like a nice, interesting results.
Mhm.
Because some of the biological algorithms which are used in our bodies, they're pretty, how to say that, effective.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense. Totally makes sense. It's just, yeah, there's so many ideas, to be honest, to be implemented further in this stuff. We'll see which ones I get to. Actually,
I think we need like a step two presentation, like more fun.
more fun. Okay. Well, when I do the next
I
steps,
believe
I'll do the next
I believe that it
presentation.
should be separate score. That's it. Fun.
Fun. You're probably right, by the way. I mean, it makes sense at least.
I believe that the algorithm of the splitting the points between the scores can be like the square of the figure should be the same, and your scores it's just like a pentagram, like 5 lines in a плоскость.
How are you gonna make GPT understand that and give you the right number? That's for me the question.
Okay, well that's GPT.
Well, actually,
okay.
I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have to ask GPT. I can still ask it the same scores as I ask now, but then I can take them and apply them to this approach that you're describing and get the score that sums up to the same number. No, like normalize it basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be
Would like to
interesting
see
check.
the results.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it would be interesting to check how repetitive the scores of GPT are. Maybe error bars are a lot bigger than the median value is. So how representative really they are.
Look, I have the data. Like if you tell me specifically what you're looking for, I can either send you the data or I can give you the results. I think I will publish it on GitHub. At least based on what we already have, that's easy to look at. But yeah, as we discussed, there's a lot of changes that we can make before making further conclusions.
I mean, we could try to evaluate an idea like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's the same idea.
Well,
see
that
how consistent
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I did this work on this question half a year ago or so on the noise analysis of the LLMs and got some results, and I gotta say it's pretty consistent. Very consistent. Yeah, more consistent. Well, I don't want to say more consistent than humans, but it is more consistent than humans.
I believe it will depend on temperature and the task.
Yes, it
you're
does.
giving it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But
also,
surprisingly not that well. I don't know. I expected more correlation there with the temperature.
Okay. And also, did you look at the worst ideas?
No, I didn't. There's like 2,000 of them. I need to sit down and look through them just for fun, but I didn't see all of them yet. I saw maybe a couple of hundreds.
Maybe the bottom of the list would be a lot funnier than the top.
No, honestly, I think it would be, but I am looking forward to change the approach a bit to apply this, to give it a vector of a specific problem and try to do it this way, because then it will be easier for it to evaluate the idea easier and in very, I think this evaluations will be closer to what humans have in their minds as well, if this is applied to a particular idea, to a particular problem. So I want to try this one first and then see.
But in this case, you face this how to say that the other side issue, which related that like in this case, you have a bunch of like ideas from several fields of knowledge.
Yep.
And when you try to apply this thing for the like particular idea, what comes to my mind? You don't have all those like ideas you start from. So you have to, in a way, generate them first by yourself, because like there is a plenty of ideas. You cannot be sure which one will be like will fit to the results you wanna get from there, right? So there is a from my opinion, there is a bit different task here.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's true. I need to check. But I mean, I think I see the clear problem is if I apply a mental model or this concept or idea to a problem, then I'm just looking at the results and evaluating the results, but I'm not breeding them for the future generations. So it really is not going to be an evaluation algorithm. I can come up with some sort of combination of that, which I think would be still applying two ideas or combination of two ideas to a problem, and then seeing if that can proceed further, if the generated idea applies somehow to solve it. Don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of experimentation to be done. It feels like a typical expert systems that yeah, we've all learned somewhere somehow.
Seems we get several ideas for whole week for you, Eugene.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you.
Not only for tomorrow.
Yeah, I wish it didn't take that much time, to be honest. I think I needed to like take it into account or calculate it before, but notice it before. But I think it took at least like 8 to 12 hours for the whole thing to complete. And it wasn't in one run, it was like in chunks. But still, it's kind of long to run an experiment. I would like to run this experiment much faster. And maybe I will switch to Llama, that will be faster. Some small
I have a
7
stupid
billion
question.
thing.
I have a
What?
stupid question, very stupid. So you have used the APIs for GPT, right? For
Yep.
experimenting with all that. Okay.
That was the question.
Yeah. I said it's stupid.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
So the question was about the web interface of the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically
Okay.
you can maybe I just thinking you can emulate that with the interface, but it won't be like faster anyway.
Yeah, it won't be faster, I'm telling you. Try to, yeah. I don't remember if, the formula, but we can calculate how much time it will take to randomly select two ideas, create a prompt, put the prompt, take the results, evaluate the results, put it back into a list of ideas, select random ideas. That would probably be 3 months, I think. But it would be even more fun. Anyway, should we wrap up?
Yeah.
Thanks,
It's
guys,
really
for participating. Yeah, that was fun.
Very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
All right.